Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back again. Hope you are doing well and safe. Well, this is our second video in our series in managing storage devices. This video will be the first practical hands-on demonstration for the concepts that we have covered on the previous video. So without any delay, let us start. By the end of this video, you will be able to demonstrate your hands-on skills on using a very powerful tool, our first tool, which is known as Disk Management Console, to do all the necessary tasks. If you remember from the first video, initializing the storage device, then creating the partitions, and last but not least, formatting. Now, to put things in a scenario and context, let us assume I have a computer and it has an operating system. It is running, it's okay. But as you can see, when I go to File Explorer, I discover that my hard disk is 149 and it is almost full, as you can see. And this is where my operating system is installed. But I need more extra storage space because I have a lot of data to store. So I decided to buy a new hard disk. So I shut down my computer and I bought a hard disk. I opened the case, I put it and install it on the case. Then I make sure that I connect the power cables, and then I put, I am ready now to use my hard disk. So I switch on my PC again and I went to File Explorer, but I discovered that nothing is happening here. My new hard disk is not appearing here. Well, this is not because your new hard disk is damaged, but because you did not finish setting up the new hard disk. And if you remember, in the previous video, we discussed the 3 tasks that you should do for any storage device to be usable. The first task was initializing the storage device. And if you remember, on this stage, you have to set the partition style either to the MBR, which is the old technology, or the GPT. After finishing initializing the storage device, then you will be able to partitioning the storage device into different partitions, different sections of the hard disk. And still, you have to do the last task. Of course, the partition, if you remember, we said we have 2 types, primary partition and extended partition. And the last task is to format the storage device with the proper file system. After you do all these tasks, then you will be able to use your new hard disk and be able to store data on it. So after this, after I do this, my hard disk is ready. I want to create 6 partitions. So after I do this, sorry for this, in the formatting, if you remember, we said you have to choose the file system, and we discussed this in our previous video, or NTFS. So if you did not watch our basic concept video, the first video on this series, it is highly recommended to watch that one, then come back again so that you understand the practical that we will do. So after I finish all these tasks, I will shift my computer from this not happy picture to this very nice picture. Now my hard disk, the new hard disk, is ready to be used. As you can see from this picture, I have created 6 partitions, and I give each partition a label and a drive letter. For example, here Apple and A, HP H, Microsoft M, and so on, and each has different size. And in addition to the original partition where my operating system is installed, and my additional new hard disk is now can be used. So we will learn, inshallah, in this video how to do this practically. We will use a very important and very powerful tool in Microsoft. It's called Disk Management Console, and this is the picture of that tool. This tool, it's a built-in tool that comes with the operating system. So what does this mean? This means that you don't need to download and install this tool. It's already on the operating system. And it is a graphical user interface tool, as you can see. So it's user-friendly and easy to use. And I will show you step by step how to use this tool. It is very powerful tool. And because it is very powerful tool, you need to have an administrator account to run this tool. If you are not using administrator account, it will not run. And you can use this tool for all the three tasks: for initializing, for partitioning, and for formatting. This is the nice thing about this tool. You can do all the tasks in the same tool. Of course, to run this tool, Disk Management Console, this is the command where you have to type it in the start menu to run this command, and we will see it inshallah in the practical. It's called disk mgmt.msc. Of course, mgmt stands for management. Now, my new hard disk initially will looks like this one. As you can see, I bought 1 terabyte hard disk, and when I run the disk management tool, it shows my hard disk in that way. This means that my hard disk is there, but it is not usable because there is no partitions. And as you can see, the word here, it says unallocated space. This means that the whole hard disk is not usable now because there is no partitions. And the black color here indicate this fact. So whenever you see black color here, it means that this storage space is not usable yet. But after using the disk management tool, I will create the partitions, and we will see this inshallah. So the first task I will do, I will set this hard disk, the partition style, to MBR. Inshallah, in the coming video, I will set that partition to GPT, and we will see the difference. But for this video, we will set it to MBR, master boot record. After that, we will partition our storage device into 6 partitions: 3 primary partitions and 3 logical drives. And these logical drives will be inside the extended partition. Because if you remember from the first video, if you initialize your hard disk as MBR, you can create what is known as the extended partition. We discussed this in our previous video. Then after that, I will format all these 6 partitions with the proper file system and labels. So after I do all these, practically, our hard disk will be looks like this one. You see, this was the original hard disk, the status of the hard disk. When I buy it anew, there is nothing. And after I do all these 3 tasks, I will end up with this very nice looking picture, and I can use my hard disk. So as you can see here, this is the first partition, this is the second partition, this is the third partition, and this is the last one, which is the big one. If you look to the color, dark green, this is the extended partition, and inside it I have created 3 sub partitions. We call these logical drives. Now in disk management tool, the colors here, it has a meaning. So as you can see here, it shows you that the black color means unallocated, like this one. The dark blue, it says it's a primary partition. This means these 3 partitions are primary partitions. And if you remember, in the first video we discussed this. In the primary partition, you can only create 1 partition. You can assign only 1 drive letter for the whole partition. Now, the dark green, as you can see, it says the extended partition. It is this one. The whole, this one is the whole, it's the extended partition. And inside it, I create these sub partitions. We call them logical drive. And they have the color here. It's the white or light blue. As it says here, you know, this is the color light blue. It says logical drive. These are the logical drives. Now, for example, after I did this one, maybe, for example, for some reason, I delete that partition, the Microsoft. And for example, I delete this partition, Lenovo. Of course, these labels, I choose them. You can choose any label if you want. So what will happen? My hard disk will look like this one. So as you can see, after I delete that partition, the color is converted back to black. And it says here, it's unallocated. Whereas if I delete the logical drive inside an extended partition, the color will be light green and says here a free space, as it's shown here in the color legend. But either this or that are not usable now because they are not inside any partition. But I just want to show you how the hard disk will looks like if you start deleting partitions, adding partitions, and we will see all these things inshallah in the practical. And here, as you can see, when my hard disk is ready, each partition, it has a drive letter, for example here G, and it has a label, or we call it volume label. I call it Google. And also here it shows you the file system. For example, this one I formatted with FAT16. By the way, when you have only the term here FAT, it means FAT16. For example, this is the second partition. It has a label Microsoft and the drive letter M, and I formatted as a FAT32. Again, the same thing here. This is Apple A, and I give it an extension here, or the file system exFAT, and so on. For example, here in TFS, and we will see this inshallah in the practical side. Now, after this brief discussion, we will go now to live demo and show you step by step how to do all these things. See you in the live demo. Okay, welcome to the demonstration part, the hands-on session. As you can see, I have a Windows 11 in my computer, but if you are using Windows 7, 8, 8.1, 10, don't worry, you can use exactly the same commands and step by step. They are similar. If you remember, I have purchased a 1 tera storage device. I plug it in physically to my computer, and I am ready now to start using that one. So to check if my Windows recognize my new storage device, I will go to File Explorer, and then I will go to this PC. Unfortunately, it didn't show me the new hard disk. It only shows me the first hard disk in my computer where the operating system is installed. So why is that? Because as we studied and explained in the videos, we have to do the 3 tasks before we can start using our new hard disk: the initializing, the partitioning, then the formatting. We will use the first tool, which is the Disk Management Console tool, which is a very powerful to do all these 3 tasks. Now, there are many ways to run this tool, but I prefer to go to the Start menu and start typing the command. If you remember, the command was disk mgmt.msc. If you type the command correctly, you will end up with this icon. This means that I have typed my command correctly and I am ready to hit the enter key or click the open. If you type the command, there is a mistake, spelling mistake. For example, if I add another letter C, T here, what will happen? It will not show you that icon. Instead, it will try to go to the web and start searching for this command. So from here, you can see you can get the point that you are not typing the command correctly. If you type the command correctly, you know, it should show the icon of the command and the tool. So now I am ready to press enter, but look here what will happen. Unfortunately, it gives me this error message. It says to me, you don't have the access rights. Why is that? Because I am signed into my computer as a standard user. And because this tool is a very powerful tool, I need to run it as an administrator. So this is a very important point to remember. To use this tool, you have to be an administrator. So what I will do, I say, okay, I will close. Then again, I will type disk mgmt.msc, but this time I will not hit enter or open. Instead, I will choose run as administrator, or I can hit Control Shift and enter. It will do the same thing. So I will hit Control Shift enter. Now it gives me a prompt. Maybe you don't see it. It asks me for a password for administrator account. So I will type my administrator password and I click here the yes. Excellent. So look here what happened. My disk management tool started and it immediately recognized that I have a new hard disk, and it asked me to do the first task, which is initializing the disk. So the disk management tool is very smart tool. It recognized my new hard disk. It asked me first, this is the first task as we learned, to initialize the disk. And if you remember, initializing the disk, we have to choose the partition style. Do I want it to be MBR, which is the old technology, or the GBT? For demonstration purposes, I will select MBR. In the coming videos, we will do the same thing, but we will use the GBT so that you are familiar with both partition style. So I will choose MBR, then I click here, OK. Now I will maximize this one to explain it for you. Now initially, when you see this tool, maybe you are confused, but I will show you a very easy way to use it. Now, I want from you to know that this tool is divided into two parts. The upper part, which is this one, and the lower part. The upper part, it gives you information about the storage devices in your computer in a text format, as you can see. And the lower part, it shows you exactly the same information, but in a graphical way. So I prefer to use this graphical way to manage my hard disks and storage devices. So one thing I can normally I do, I will remove this text so that it doesn't confuse me. So how do I do that one? I go to the view. In the top, I will choose to show me the graphical view. Then the button part, I will hide it. So again, I go to the view and to the button part, option, sorry, then I say hidden. So this way, I am more focused on my graphical interface view for my hard disk and storage devices. Now, what does this mean? Here, the disk management console, it shows you the list of the storage devices, all the storage devices in your computer. For example, here, it shows me that I have two hard disks, disk 0 and disk 1. And disk 0, it gives you here, this is the complete picture of your first hard disk. As you can see, it shows you the partitions and everything. And this is my new hard disk, disk 1. And this is my 1 terabyte hard disk. As you can see, now there are no partitions. And the black color, if you remember, we discussed this. This means it's unallocated space. This means you don't have any partitions in your new hard disk. That's why you didn't see it in File Explorer. So now, as you can see here, by the way, it shows you the color legend, and each color, what does it mean? The black, it says unallocated. Unallocated means you have a space, but there is no partitions, so unusable. and we have the dark blue, it says a primary partition. So if you look carefully to the first hard disk where my operating system is installed, as you can see, normally the operating system is installed on C. So this is my first hard disk, and during the installation of Windows, the setup program create this partition. It doesn't have a drive letter, so it will not show in File Explorer, as well as this partition. These two partitions are created by the setup program. Also, this is my partition C, but unfortunately, I have not used the whole storage capacity on my first disk. As you can see here, I have the black color, and here it says unallocated word. This means that I have almost 82 gigabyte of my first storage device is not usable. I am not using that one. But don't worry about this. We will focus for our new hard disk, which is the 1 tera. So that now, if you remember, we initialize it using the MBR, and to make sure what is the partition style, you can right-click here, the disk 1, and then you go to the properties. Then you select the volume tab, and from here it will show you what partition style your hard disk. So my partition style is MBR because this is the one that I choose. So this is the way you can check your partition style of your hard disk. Now, if I want to see my first hard disk, if you remember where my operating system is installed, the one who choose the partition style is not you, the administrator. It is the setup program of the Windows. So during the installation of Windows, it automatically check my computer, and it will set the partition style according to the model and how new or old your computer. If it is old model and the BIOS is old, the motherboard is old, it will set it to MBR. If it is a new, it will set it to GBT. To make sure, again, I will go to this part, and I right click, then go properties. Again, I will go to the volume tab. As you can see here, the partition style, it says that you have GBT. So this is the first hard disk, not you who select the partition style, but it is the setup installation program during your Windows installation. But this is the second hard disk, additional hard disk, and we talk about this. You as administrator, you can specify. And this is exactly what we did. We have the option to choose between MBR and GBT, and we choose MBR to show you the extended partition. If you remember, extended partition can only be used in MBR. And in the next video, inshallah, we will initialize it with GBT, and you will see that in GBT, you don't have this type of partition extended. All what you can create is the primary partitions. But of course, GBT give you more maximum partitions up to 1 to 8. But in MBR, if you remember, you can create up to maximum 4 primary partitions, or if you want, you can use also extended partition. And this is exactly what we will see now. So we finished initializing the first task. Now it's time to start partitioning. Actually, I will partition my hard disk into 6 partitions. The first 3 partitions will be primary, and the last one will be the extended. And inside the extended partition, I will create 3 more sub-partitions. So how do we start creating the partition? Very simple. You go to the storage device, for example, in this case, disk 1. You simply go to the empty space here, right-click, and here it gives you more options. I will select the first one, new simple volume. Now, by the way, when you see the word volume, just think of it as the partition. Although technically they are different, but for time being, just think of the volume as the partition. So I will select a new simple volume. It will start the wizard here, and you will come to the new simple wizard, this and that. Then you click the next. The first question it asks you, what is the size of the partition you want? Here it shows you the total storage capacity of your hard disk, which is almost 1 terabyte. but I will delete this one. I will create a 3 gigabyte. The first partition, I want it to be 3 gigabyte, for example, capacity. So I will write here 3000. Why I did write 3000? Because as you can see here, the unit is in megabyte. So almost approximately 300 megabyte mean 3 giga. So now this is the first question. Then I said next. Now here it asks you what drive letter you want to assign for this drive. For example, I will assign the letter that you have all the options. Of course, you cannot use C because C is already occupied by the first hard disk where the operating system is installed. So I will choose, for example, G, and then you click next. Now the next question is, it asks you to, if you want to format it. If you remember, in the format, you have to choose the file system. From here, there is a list. If you click that one, it gives you here the file system that you can choose to format your partition. Now, if you remember, we have 4 file systems: FAT16, FAT32, EXFAT, and NTFS. Now, when you see FAT without any number, this indicates it is FAT16. Please bear in mind this fact. So if you want to format it as a FAT16, you simply click FAT. If you want to format it with FAT32, you click that one, and NTFS that one. Now, many students and many people, they ask me, what is EXFAT? Actually, this is a limitation of the GUI Disk Management tool. So if you want to format it EXFAT, you have to go to the command line, and this is exactly what we will do, inshallah, in our next videos. We will use the command line tools to do the same what we are doing here. But for now, I will simply say FAT. And here, if you remember, it asked me the volume label. You can click that one. You can give any name for the partition. But for this, as an example, I will choose Google, for example. And if you remember, we have 2 types of format: quick format or full format. And just to recap, what is the difference? If you choose full format, before it format and create the file system, it will go to each sector in that partition, and it will check if you have any bad sectors. Then it will create the file system. But if you select quick format, it will not check for the bad sector. It automatically creates the file system, so it is faster. So if you want full format, simply you remove the tick mark here, but it takes time. So I will choose, for the time saving, I will choose quick format. Now everything I think is ready. Simply you click next. It gives me a warning message. If you remember, for FAT16, we said by standard you can only format 2 gigabyte. And since my partition is larger than 2 gigabyte, it's a 3 gigabyte, it gives me here a warning from Microsoft. But we said Microsoft allow me to format any partition up to 4 gigabyte size. So simply I click OK. I know that by standard FAT16 is 2 gigabyte, and my partition here is a 3 gigabyte, but still I want to use the FAT, which is FAT16. So simply you click here OK, then finish. Excellent. As you can see, it creates the partition and it opens it in File Explorer. I simply close that one. As you can see now, the first partition is created and ready to be used in my to store data on it. As you can see, oh sorry, I write Google here not correctly. I can correct it later. It has the label, it has the drive letter, it has FAT, which is FAT, the file system FAT16, and this is the type of a primary partition. Because of the color, as you can see, dark blue, here it says to me primary partition. Now if I go to my computer and go to this PC, as you can see now, I start seeing that partition, and simply I can double click that one. I can start saving on that partition. So, but we will continue. Now, I have a lot of unallocated space. I am not using that. I am not utilizing that. So, if you want to fully utilize your new hard disk, you have to start creating the other partitions. So now we will create the second partition. Again, the same thing. Right click, new simple volume. Next. Here again, it asks you what is the space you want. Here I wanted 20 gigabyte. So I will write here 20, then 1000. Again, because the unit here is in megabyte. Then I click here, next. Again, it asks me for the drive letter. You have the full option to choose any one. But for this, I will choose M. Then next. Again, now it asks me the same thing for the formatting. If I click this time, this menu, you see now it shows me only FAT32 and NTFS. It's not showing me FAT or FAT16. Why is that? Because for sure now I cannot format that partition with FAT16 because the size of this, the newly created partition is 20 gigabyte. And if you remember, for FAT16, it can support by standard up to 2 gigabyte and by Microsoft up to 4 gigabyte. So there is no way to choose here FAT16. So I will simply click FAT32, and here again I will give it a label, for example, Microsoft. Again, for the full or quick, I will simply say quick, then I click next, then finish. Excellent. You see, it shows me in File Explorer that a new partition is created and my Windows is recognizing that one. Very good. So you see, this is my second partition, and automatically it created as a primary partition. So for till now, I have two partitions in my new storage device. Now I can continue the same thing. So I will create the third new simple volume next. This time I will give it 60 gigabyte. So I will write here 60,000. Simply you click next, and I will choose here the drive letter, I think A, then next. Again, it asks me the file system for formatting. Now let us see what options it will give me. You see now, it gives me exFAT and NTFS. And I think you know why it's not showing me FAT16 and FAT32. Because my new partition is 60 gigabyte, and FAT16, if you remember, we can up to 4 gigabyte, and FAT32 up to 32 gigabyte. And because this partition is larger than these two limits, now I left with only two options. So let me use exFAT, and then the label I will choose this time, for example, Apple, which is the company, the big company Apple. Next, then finish. Again, now it's ready. Yes, okay, and it's ready, and it created that partition. Now look, exFAT, and now I left with this unallocated space. Now remember, I create and I initialize that hard disk as an MBR. So I can use extended partition. Now, by default, Windows, when you have an MBR, it will create the extended partition, the last partition. So the first three partitions here are created and the type is primary. But look here now, what will happen when I create a partition. So what I will do now, I will right click and I will create a new simple volume. Next. This time I want, for example, 500, okay, or half tera, 500,000. So this means it is half tera. Then I say next. Again, here I will choose the drive letter. I will choose I. Next. Again, I will choose, for example, I will choose NTFS, and the label I will write here, I will type Intel. And again, I will choose quick format. Next. Now here it gives you a summary. Now look what will happen now when I click finish. What it will do actually, it will create all this unallocated, it will create it as an extended partition. And if you remember, extended partition, I can create inside it sub partitions. So let us see what will happen now. Finish. Yes, you see now. Okay, excellent. Let me close this one. As you can see, this dark green, this is the whole is my extended partition. And this is my first sub partition, or we call it logical drive. And it is almost 500 gigabyte, half tera, the one that I specify. And here it shows you the file system. And this is the label. But still I have more free space. As you can see from this legend, color legend, the dark green, it's called extended partition. It is this complete, this partition is the complete partition. This is the extended. And inside the extended, I can create many sub partition. Normally we call the logical drives. As you can see here, the light blue, it says here logical drive. So this is my logical drive. So here I will create more partitions. I will create, subdivide this into 2 partitions. Of course, when it is a free space, again, it is like the black unallocated space. I cannot utilize it. So I have, if you want to utilize this space, you have to create sub partition or logical drive, because it's inside the extended partition. So again, right click, new simple, next. This time I will give it 200, then 1000, so 200 gigabyte. Then next, here I can choose L, drive letter. You have the full freedom to choose any drive letter. Next, and in this case, for example, I will choose exFAT, and the label I will give it a name, Lenovo. And again, I will do a quick format so that doesn't take me a lot of time. Next, finish. Excellent. You see, start recognizing all my partitions. You see now this is the second logical drive inside my extended partition. And still I have more space. So now the last partition I want to take, I want to take the whole space and create our last and logical drive. Again, right click, new simple volume. Here I will not specify anything. If you keep that number, this means that you take the whole space, the left space. So I will not change anything here. Next. Now here, for example, I will give it the drive H. Where is H? This one. Then next. And let me choose NTFS. And the label for that one, let me choose HP. And again, quick format, then next. Finish. You see now it's formatting and it recognizes my new logical drive. I will close it. You see now my second storage device is fully initialized, partitioned, and formatted, and ready to be used. So now, what do you think if I go to my computer? What I will see? I will see all these partitions. Okay. Of course, let me go to File Explorer. Yes, you see. Now all my partitions are ready, and I can double click in any one of these and I can start saving data on my new storage device. Of course, this C is in the first operating system, the first hard disk, sorry. Okay, I did not do anything, although I have some unallocated. I can utilize this, I can create more partition here. But let us focus just on the new storage device. So you see, after I finish all the three tasks, initializing, partitioning, and formatting, I am ready to use my storage device. Simply, I can go to any one, double click. Of course, now it's empty. I can start creating any file I want inside this. Okay, you see, I can just, so they are ready now to I am ready now to use my new hard disk. So if you remember, initially they were not shown here because my hard disk was not initialized, was not partitioned, was not formatted. But now, after I did all the tasks, they are ready. You are ready to now to enjoy your new storage device. Now, by the way, let me rename here the label. Very simple. You go to this, right click, and if I could choose more option, rename, I will just correct this one. Sorry. Google. Okay, I have to provide my password, administrator password. Okay. Yeah, okay. So this is how you perform the three tasks that we mentioned, initializing. Now, one important point here, can I change my partition style? For example, if I want to make it GBT, not MBR. Now, you can convert it from here. You just go to the disk one, right click. You see, I have an option here. It says convert to GBT disk, but it is not active. As you can see, I cannot click it here. As you can see, the color is a little bit gray. Why is that? Because you cannot, because this, if you remember, this was the first step, initializing. In the initializing, we choose either GBT or MBR. But we cannot now change to GBT. Why? Because already you have created the partitions. If you want to convert this to GBT, first you have to delete all the partitions. Then, after you delete all the partitions, then you are able to change the partition style. Now, you may ask me, how do I delete the partitions? Very simple. For example, if I want to delete the Microsoft partition, very simple, right click, then you said here, delete volume. Of course, it gives you a warning message that be careful, everything will be done. If you click yes, you see now it converted to unallocated space and the color is here black. This means that this storage is not usable anymore. Now, if I go to my computer, you see now Microsoft is disappear. Okay, so this is the way you can delete the partition. So again, if I, for example, delete Lenovo, right click, delete volume, again it gives you a warning message, say yes. You see now it converted to free space with the light green. This means if you look to the legend here, free space. So free space inside the extended partition is exactly like the unallocated space in the normal hard disk. They are not usable. If you want to use them, you have to create a partitions. Of course, I can right click now and I can create a partition, okay? And I give it everything as we saw, and so that it is usable. Again, the same thing in the unallocated space. But let me delete all the partitions to see, after I delete all the partitions, then I can convert my partition style to GBT. So let me start from here. I will delete this one. You see now the free space is more. Again, I will delete that one. You see now, this is my extended partition. Now, no logical drive inside it. All are free, so not usable. So I will right click this one now. Oh, okay, you can delete that partition also. You see now it become unallocated. Again, this one. Of course, you have to be very careful before you delete the partitions. If you have any data, you have to back it up. Otherwise, you will lose your data. Again, I will right click this one, delete the volume. Now my hard disk back without any partitions. So if I go to my computer or this PC, you see all my partition disappear. Now, because I don't have any partition, I have the ability to change the partition style. Very simply, you go to the here, disk one, and then now you see it give you here the option convert to GPT is enabled. So simply you can click convert to GPT. Now my hard disk is initialized with GPT. This means now I cannot create extended partitions. I can only create primary partitions, but the nice thing that I can have up to 128 partition. Of course, this is a theoretically, practically, normally we don't do this, but I will keep this for the next video. If you want to make sure that my new disk is GBT, again, if you remember, I can check that one by right-click here, then go to Properties and to the volume. As you can see now, the partition style is set to GBT. Now, as far as you don't have any partitions, you can easily change between the partition style. But once you start creating the partitions, you cannot change the partition style. So again, let me go back and convert it to, you see now it says to me convert to MBR disk because it's already now, currently it's GBT, now it changed here to MBR. Again, I can click MBR, now my hard disk is in MBR. So as simple as this one. But remember, as far as I don't have any partitions. Once I finish this, I will close the disk management. And by this time, we'll learn how to use this very powerful tool, but very easy tool. And inshallah, in our next video, we will do exactly what we did, but using the command line interface, a very important command, which is called disk part. We will do exactly what we have done today, but from the GUI, not from the GUI, from the command line interface. So please, till that, stay safe and see you later. Okay, thank you very much. We come to the end of the video. We learn how to use the Disk Management Console, a very powerful and easy to use tool. And inshallah, in our next video, we will do exactly the same thing, but all totally from the command line interface using the very powerful disk part command. Till that time, please stay safe.